Thank you so much for tuning in. If you don't know, my name is Darnaya, Darice, first name, middle name. Thank you so much for joining. For my newbies and for those book friends who've been friends, thank you always. I appreciate you for your support. Listen, we're going to get into 7 classics, okay? And I'm going to keep this video as short as possible. But these are classics that some of them are new that I've just bought within the last few weeks or the last month or so, and then others, a few of the others are ones that I had for a few years and haven't read yet. Okay, they've been on the TBR, just haven't been read yet. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I have 3 of the classics that are from Vintage Classics. Now, hold on, my dog just came in. Hold on. All right. And we're back. So I have 3 classics that are from vintage. Okay, these are the vintage classics. 2 of these I got from Second and Charles earlier this week, which is the last week of July. Man, look at this shrink. Why do I have the shrink? Oh well, we're just gonna fluff it and let it float. All right, so the first one I got is Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. And that's how the book is. And Second and Charles, it was only $6.95. And I was interested in this copy, or in this book, because I was studying. Let me get it. I have these like study pamphlets, you know, you can get from Spark Notes. You can get this from Barnes and Nobles. You can get it from Amazon. But I have one for Spanish, and I also have, or I want to get one for psychology, but I do like I study on my own time with varying subjects. And so when I was doing some studying with narration, and under the note of stream of consciousness narration, which is the type of narration where like the narrator talks about the character's thoughts and feelings in real time as they're happening, not worried about grammar or speech or everything. It's just however the character is feeling. And this book was mentioned as an example of that. And it can be done in 3rd person or in 1st person. And Virginia Holloway's book is doing, I'm mixing up the name. Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway does it was free indirect discourse, which is in 3rd person. So that's how I got interested in that. Now this book is obviously, it's about a lady named Miss Dalloway. Her whole name is Clarissa Dalloway, and in this vivid portrait of one day in Mrs. Dalloway's life is preoccupied with the last minute details of a party she is to give that evening. As she readies her house, she is flooded with memories and re-examines the choices she has made over the course of her life. So interested in this. I did read a little bio of Virginia, and it's tragic how she passed away. But what I do like about the vintage classics, it comes with a short mini bio in the front. You know how the bios are normally in the back on a lot of books, but if you get the vintage edition, they are in the front, and it's short and sweet. And this was published in 1940, I believe, or first published. And it's a short read. It's only about 172 pages. And so I may just end up adding this to my TBR for August. All right, the next vintage classic I got was Native Son by Richard Wright. The Richard Wright. I have not read any Richard Wright works. I know, I'm late to the party. Let me know if you read any of Richard Wright or if you read Native Son. I've heard it's good, and apparently this was his first best-selling, or he was the first best-selling Black writer in America at that time. And this was published in 1940, as far as the first publication. And let me see, I thought this was 1925. Sorry, this one, Virginia Woolf, 1925. Mrs. Dalloway, and this was 1940. I mixed those. All right, so I'm excited to read this. This follows a character named Bigger Thomas, who is a young black man who is trapped in a life of poverty in the slums of Chicago. Unwittingly involved in a wealthy woman's death, he is hunted relentlessly for the murder, but he is driven and he is baited in this, and he acknowledges a strange pride in his crime. It just sounds like it's going to be a great book, so I may put this on my TBR for tomorrow. I mean, girl, not tomorrow, next month for September. Now, Gloria Naylor, I mentioned this in a few videos earlier this year by Mama Day. I have not gotten to this one. This is another vintage copy, and this book is a little over 300 pages, and the words are kind of small. That's the one thing about some classics. The words can be this is very small, so this is going to take some time to read, but I do want to read this at some point this year. This copy comes with a timeline. It comes with some mapping going on, and this is interesting because this is considered postmodern literature, or postmodern classics, so I'm interested in getting into this. Looks like you have some bit of magical realism going on in here. Mama Day has some powers in this, and this is by Gloria Naylor. Okay, and it's about Mama Day, obviously, but I want to get into that. Also, this one, Plato's Republic. This is by Wordsworth. This is Wordsworth edition. I got this from Second and Charles a few years ago. My husband read this. He says it's really good. You're getting into philosophy, obviously, in here. And this is about the ideas of Plato and how it have influenced Western philosophers over the last 2,000 years. The Republic deals with the great range of Plato's thought, but is particularly concerned with what makes a well-balanced society and individual. My husband, he highlighted some things in here and underlined some things in here. He said it's really good. And from what I remember him talking about this book, it still applies today, and you can get some insight on what's happening, why it's happening, and how could we move from there as a society. So I want to read that. The next two are the Sweetwater Press Classic Edition, and you may have seen this in one of my earlier videos this year. I haven't read The Prince yet, but my husband read it. Again, another great book by Niccolo Machiavelli, and this is dealing with political strategy, and this can be applied, from what I heard about it, it can be applied to today when you're talking about organization, or you're talking about just taking over your life, anything, we're dealing with military. This is supposed to be a good read. So you need any type of strategy, defense strategy, this is the book. So I want to get into that. And I also want to get into reading Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I haven't read this copy, but it looks gorgeous. I haven't read this. This was not on my reading list when I was in high school. I know it was on some, but I didn't have to read this one. But I do want to read it before I go and read James. So if I decide to pick up Personal Everett's, I want to just have that context first, which this character in this book, from what my husband talks about it, this character is kind of like misunderstood. We hear the word Uncle Tom is supposed to be, the ones who kind of sell out or something, but in this book it technically is the person who refuses to is the first black hero of literature, technically, is a slave who suffers, or an enslaved person who suffers for refusing to obey his white oppressors. That's not a sellout, okay? So, I want to read this for myself and get my own perspective from it, and I'll let you know about it. All right, and the last one, look, we're doing good. We're only at 9 minutes, is Souls of Black Folks, The Souls of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois. This is the signature classic edition, and it is gorgeous. I got this from Barnes & Noble. They have some other ones like this in this edition, and I do love this edition. It feels so soft and matted. I do want to read The Souls of Black Souls. I also have this in PDF, but this gets into Du Bois' personal and political experiences. It includes information about the death of his infant son, with segregation, the impact of emancipation and Black resistance to the rise of Jim Crow. And so I'm excited to get into this one. So let me know if you read any of these classics. Those are the 7 classics that I have on my bookshelf that's been sitting. I'm gonna squeeze them in on my regular TBR. So the TBR videos that you see, like my last one was the August TBR. So if you haven't seen that one, go check it out. You'll see my general reads, and then I may throw in another read when I can here or there. So that's how I'm going to do these classics. I'm going to throw them in with my regular TBR that I'm reading. So let me know if you read any of those or any of these. You know, we have to read the classics. We have to. I know sometimes it's hard. Some people don't like reading nonfiction, but it's not just nonfiction, but fiction too. But when it comes to those older works, older literature, it's like we have to take our time. So even if you squeeze in one a month, hey, you're doing your due diligence, okay? Well, in the meantime, in between time, I hope you all have a wonderful end of July going into August. And whenever you're watching this, always remember to keep rising.